All right, everyone, the usual gang of goofies that thought that Trump was going to lead us to war in Syria or in Venezuela now is now calling him out on Iran. And I'd just like to say this. I oppose any idea of war with Iran or even, the targeted strike. So it's not a war, it's just a little conflict, sort of bullshit that gets pushed by the Boltonites. But I don't think that Bolton is in charge of Trump's strategy. I think he has him there as a symbol to keep people backed off out of concern that there will be a war. Basically, it's speak very, very loudly and carry a big stick in Trump's form of diplomacy. It is largely working. There's some backtracking on North Korea, but there's still reason to be optimistic long term. There's reason to be optimistic Maduro will eventually lose power. He's beginning to lose bits of his military. It's not really survivable. The only thing I would say is U.S. involvement in a direct sense would be a disaster. With regards to Iran, let me say this, therefore. I oppose any action in Iran beyond the economic, like normal sanction bullshit. But I'm not worried about Iran. Like, I don't sit there like some of the Bushite, like, neocons who say, oh my god, Iran's going to get nukes and pretty soon DC will be in flames. It's like, that's not a legitimate fear. Iran does not have the ability to conduct warfare much outside of its own general region. The only thing that it routinely threatens, really, is Israel. They get pissed off, but I mean, Israel has nukes, so fucking why should I be concerned about Iran maybe trying to develop a primitive atomic weapon? They're behind North Korea when it comes to their capabilities. They don't have the ability to stand toe-to-toe with them. I mean, we don't even need to get involved in any sense. Let Iran do what it wants. So what Iran largely seems to want to do is just, I don't know, fund Hezbollah some more or something. We can take care of that like we do every other terrorist group in the world. But at the same time, I'm not worried that the U.S. is actually going to end up in war against Iran. I don't think that Trump is crazy. And I think that the idea of attacking Iran would be suicidal, because I think it would draw Russia into a direct confrontation with the U.S. It's a situation where even if both sides were trying to show restraint, if they're both operating in the same general region, in an area that's already tense and inflamed where there could be terrorist saboteurs anyway, that are trying to start a nuclear war because they want, I don't know, Dajjal to come back or something. If you get that sort of situation, you could have an apocalyptic scenario where we're, 2 seconds from midnight, essentially. It's very, very easy for that to happen. We've already had it happen before with the Cuban Missile Crisis. A lowly fucking sub-commander Soviet that was in a submarine that had lost contact due to, I think, depth charges damaging its equipment, made the call not to start a World War III and wipe out most of humanity in the process. Most people don't even know that it happened. They thought that the Cuban Missile Crisis was just bullshit posturing. In this case, thankfully, I'm optimistic that it is. I don't think it's quite the same flashpoint. Not quite the same. Iran is not a nuclear state and doesn't host, like, Soviet weapon systems sort of bullshit. I don't think that we're going to end up doing anything substantial. I think it's the normal discourse you have. Up until recently, where there was a slightly warmer relationship, in the late Obama era, really up through recently, between the U.S. and Iran, the norm was that once in a while, Iran would saber rattle and say, we will, death to America, we will burn your cities. And the U.S. would respond with a sanction or a vague threat or saying, basically fuck off. And this would happen once in a while. This is par for the course with regards. It's sad. I know it shouldn't be this way. Like, there's no reason we should be at odds at all. But as far as U.S.-Iran relations go, this is pretty normal. It's just like the situation's pretty normal over in Korea. People are like, they get jumpy. I think Korea shot off a few short-range missiles, which technically didn't violate their agreement with the U.S. and is obviously a fucking test. It's a test to see what our response would be, and I think our response was to condemn it, but ultimately do nothing, which is pretty much what would be expected. This is normal as regards these relationships. They should be improving. Like, Trump's the only one who's actually managed to make headway in Korea. We could be looking at Venezuela entering the West at some point in the near future. Well, with regards to Iran, that's one of Russia's main proxies. It's one of their main sort of vassal states that they prop up. It does have a significant military ability, although it's not a nuclear state. There's no reason why Russia will back off, and so I don't think that DC's nuts enough to actually invade the Iranians. If they did, like, let's say that Trump tomorrow, he addresses a nation, he's like, well, we've had enough of this, we've got reports that Iran's trying to build nukes, so we're just going to say fuck it, and we're going to bomb Tehran or something. Yeah, I would no longer support his re-election bid, let's put it that way. I guess I'd have to vote for myself at that point and run a serious candidacy or something. Sticks 2020. It'd be a sad day, but I don't think it's going to happen. I'm optimistic about that. If it does, game changer. But don't worry too much about the hot-headed rhetoric between the U.S. and Iran. Like, some people are like, oh, yeah, see, Trump is cucking out to John Bolton and the neocons. He's become a warmonger now. Ha ha, he's part of the deep state. This is normal. Until some shots are actually fired, then you can call me then. Eat a cookie and call me in the morning. That's about all. Peace out.